Hey folks, welcome back. Hope everyone's doing well. I may or may not have gone a little over the top with the Halloween decorations. Yeah. What can I say? I just enjoy Halloween so much. So this month we're going to be doing some spooky dishes for you guys and gals to try out. And today we're actually going to be doing a s'more tart. So check this bad boy out. And as you can see, this tart is going to leave you wanting s'more. I mean, more. So for the shell of the tart, we're going to be doing a sweet pastry, followed by a chocolate creme patissiere or custard. In addition, we're going to have chocolate soil, and also we're going to crack open some graham crackers to go on top, and then finishing it with that wispy, ghosty marshmallow on top. So it's going to be spot on today. And if I caught your attention, feel free to hit that subscribe button. In addition, feel free to hit the bell notification to give you updates when videos are released. So I think that's our cue to crack on. So the first thing we want to do is start making that sweet pastry. So we're going to need 75 grams of unsalted butter, or 1/3 of a cup, cut up into cubes. Also, we're going to need 150 grams of all-purpose flour or plain flour, which is 1 1/5 of a cup. Also, we're going to need 50 grams or half a cup of icing sugar or powdered sugar. Then we want that 1 pinch of salt as well. Then get your hands in there and then rub that butter together with the dry ingredients until it's nicely incorporated. Next, you want 1 egg yolk. Keep the whites, you can always use it for later. And then you want to mix that together until it's bound together. And you might also need 1 or 2 tablespoons of milk just to help it along as well. But don't go too crazy with the milk. So once the sweet pastry is actually made, we're going to cling film this, put it in the fridge for about 15 minutes to rest. So while that dough is resting, you can preheat the oven to 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. Oh, God! So once you've actually untangled yourself, you want to butter and flour your tart mold. So once your tart mold is all floured and buttered, set that aside and then grab your sweet pastry from the fridge. And then grab a rolling pin and then carefully roll out your pastry to the size of your tart mold. And then once you've got the correct size, just very, very carefully roll up the pastry, and then obviously grab it in the middle, not the handles, otherwise it's just going to spin off. Picking it up and then just very carefully rolling the pastry over the top. And then carefully pick up the outer pieces just so it doesn't tear, and then just carefully push into the gaps to pull out any air that's trapped on the inside of the pastry. And then once it's ready to go, we're going to pop this into the freezer for about 2-3 minutes just to firm up, which is going to help it hold its shape while cooking. Ah, watch that spider web. And obviously keep the scraps as well. You might need to patch up your tart if it breaks or cracks a little bit. You shouldn't need to. Or you can make another small mini tart if you've got a mold. So once your tart is firmed up, pop it onto a tray to stop any leakages. And then grab 2 pieces of foil to put over the top of the pastry to prevent it from rising and foiling your plans of a perfect tart. You must know what I'm like by now. And if you're not a big fan of the foil method, you can do the bacon beans, or you can do the fork and the egg wash. Entirely up to you. So that's going to go into the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes. Watch the spider web. Once it's out of the oven, we're going to egg wash it as well, just to give it that beautiful seal. And then pop it back in the oven for about roughly 2 to 3 minutes. So your tart should have a nice beautiful colouring over the top, should be nicely sealed. So we're going to set this aside to cool down. So now it's time for the chocolate creme pat or custard. And we're going to whiz through this because you've seen me make this many a times. So starting off with 500 ml of milk, which is 2 cups. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, or you could use 1 vanilla pod if you're fancy schmancy. And then pop this onto the stove to bring up to the bowl, but keep an eye on it and careful it doesn't spill over. And then grab yourself a mixing bowl, and we're going to need 6 egg yolks. Obviously keep the whites for later on. Next we want 4 teaspoons or 20 grams of cornstarch or corn flour. And then same again with the all-purpose flour or plain flour. And also 2 teaspoons of cocoa powder as well. And then give that a whisk together until it's all nice and pasty. Not white pasty, but you know what I mean. Now, if you don't want to be as bitter as my soul, don't forget to add the sugar, which, yeah, I kind of did. So we're going to need 90 grams of fine granulated sugar or caster sugar, which is about 7 tablespoons. And then give that a whisk. So once your milk has come up to the boil, start adding a small amount of the milk into the mixture, whisking it together. And once it's absorbed all that liquid, add a little bit more. And by doing this little by little, this will prevent having any lumps in your custard. Or should. So once that's loosened up, pour the rest of the mixture into the chocolate mix, and then pour that straight back into the pan, and then back onto the stove, onto a medium heat, and then whisking it nice and gently, cooking the eggs out until it's nice and thick. And once that is thickened, you want to cook this out for a further 2-3 minutes just to make sure you get rid of that eggy taste and the eggs are cooked out correctly. So once that's ready, take it off the stove and then pour it onto a tray lined with parchment paper. And then carefully spread it out, as this will increase the work surface area and it'll allow it to cool down so much quicker. And then finally put another piece of parchment paper over the top to stop it forming a skin. So set this aside to cool down. So while we're waiting for that custard to cool down, I'm going to start on that chocolate soil. And we're going to start off with 100 grams of caster sugar or fine granulated sugar, which is about 8 tablespoons. And then we want 2 tablespoons of water. And then we're going to pop this onto the stove onto a medium heat. And we're going to bring it up to 113 Celsius or 235 Fahrenheit. And if you haven't got a thermometer, don't worry. Once it starts to change color, that's when you want to add the chocolate. So while that's on the stove, you want to weigh yourself 70 grams or 2.4 ounces of milk chocolate, or you could go for dark chocolate, entirely up to you. So it's just about to change color. So this is the time where we need to add the chocolate and then carefully whisk it in. And before you know it, you've got yourself some nice, delightful chocolate soil. So take it off the stove and turn off the heat. And then grab yourself some parchment paper onto a tray. And then pour it over the tray and allow that chocolate soil to cool down. And also, if you're having trouble cleaning the pan, just top it up with water, put it on the stove to boil. That should fix your problem. Now, as tempting as this may be, you want to try and eat this. And you think, oh, it's okay. It's going to be extremely hot. So wait at least 10 to 15 minutes until it's stone cold. And then you can try the soil. So the custard's cooled down, and now it's time to blend it up to make it nice and silky. So give this a blend for roughly about a minute. So once that's glossy smooth, we're going to pop this straight into the tart. And then we're going to smooth it out with a spatula. And then we're going to pop that in the fridge just to firm up for about an hour. So while the custard is firming up in the fridge, it's time to make the marshmallow. Now you could buy the marshmallow yourself, but I'm going to show you a quick way of making it. It's very dead simple, dead easy. I'm so glad that didn't break. So the 6 egg whites we had from the custard, we're going to pop that straight into a bowl. Then we want 150 grams or 1.5 cups of fine granulated sugar or caster sugar. In addition, we want 12 tablespoons of golden syrup. In addition, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and also 1 pinch of salt as well. So before we put it on the stove, I'm standing here thinking this bowl might be a little too small for what we want to do. So I'm just going to be safe and sorry and pop it into a larger bowl. And then grab yourself a whisk and then take this over to the stove. And if by magic you've got some water simmering on the stove, place your bowl over the top and then you want to whisk this for about 8 to 10 minutes until it's nice, smooth and silky and fluffy. Now, if you've got an electric whisk, it will probably save you a lot of arm work. So once you finally get it to this stage, it should be silky, smooth, holding its shape as well. It shouldn't be runny, so that should be good to go. Just make sure it's nice and thick, making sure it's holding its shape so it doesn't droop. So once you've, I think maybe we should do half of this recipe. Maybe I've gone a little over the top with the marshmallow chat. So grab yourself a piping bag with a nice thick nozzle and then scoop some of the marshmallow into the piping bag very carefully. So we're not quite ready for the piping yet, so we're going to assemble the rest of the pie. So that's set an absolute little treat. So we're going to add a little bit of the chocolate soil to go on top. Don't go too wild with it. Followed by 1 or 2 graham crackers, just crushed up to go over the top. You don't need to be so fine with that. You can have it nice and rustic if you want to. And then finally, it's time to put the marshmallow over the top, and we're just going to pipe some nice little spooky ghosts just to go on top of here. Just make sure everything is nice and flat first, and then just give them like a nice little wispy tail. And then just go around the entire pie, fill in all those beautiful spaces. And if you want to go over the top, you can fill the spaces with small little ghosts if you want to. And you might be thinking, it's not very ghost-like. Here comes the time-consuming part. So we're just going to grab some chocolate, and then we're going to put some little faces on there to show that they're ghosts. So this might take a little bit of time. So finally, after a few hand cramps, you should actually get every single one there faced up. Now it's looking a little bit more ghoulish. So there it is. There is our s'more tart with the sweet pastry, the chocolate creme pâtissier or custard, followed by the chocolate soil, the graham crackers crumbled on top, and then finished with that marshmallow ghosts, and then a little bit of chocolate for the faces. Beautiful. And if you want to torch the marshmallows before putting the chocolate on, feel free to do so. So let's have a little sneaky peek in this tart now, shall we? So without cutting too many of these heads off, I'm just going to cut straight in there. Oh my goodness me. Look at that little devil right there. Or shall I say ghost? Look at those delightful layers. Let's give this a little try, shall we? See what it's like. Oh my goodness me. That beautiful silky chocolate, the crisp sweet pastry, the crunchy graham crackers, the crunchy chocolate soil in there. Oh my goodness me. And then just binding it all together with that mallow. Wow. So, so good. Wow. That is more than I expected. I mean, more. And that's all we got time for this week. And if you want to try that spoopy s'more tart, feel free to give it a go. The list of ingredients will be below in the description box as per usual. So feel free to give a comment, a like or a dislike, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So if this spooky dish inspired you a little bit, you can catch me cooking live next week with some more spooky dishes, Monday to Thursday, 10 AM Mountain Time on Twitch, cooking live, so feel free to come and check us out. The link is below in the description box. But until next week, folks, stay spoopy, awesome, and amazing.